Welcome into Crossing the Aisle with Shaun and Lindsey, where politics meets passion, right, Shaun?
Yep, that's right, for sure.
Ooh, that's loud. Is it loud for
Yeah,
you?
now I got it. Okay,
Okay,
thanks.
turn it down a little bit.
There's always issues here. Believe me, it's tough
Takes a minute to get us
to run a
settled.
radio studio. I'll tell you what, there's all this, the
Oh,
internet.
you sit over there. Who's
Yeah, I
running
don't
it?
really do anything actually. I just set up but I set up all the online stuff. She
You
handles
do
the
that.
radio
You do
board,
that.
so I've got all that.
I'll give you
All
that.
those little funny cartoons and graphics. That's all me,
Well,
man.
obviously, we know that.
It is all me doing that.
You can tell
So,
that by looking at what I look like in these cartoon
yeah,
graphics you make.
she looks angry in all of them.
Which I smile all the time. I don't know why you make me look angry.
I wonder. So anyway,
Shaun, you
um,
had court this morning. Did you
yeah,
have a good court date?
yeah, everything went really well. So I got that, and
Good.
I'm cleared up for the afternoon. So everything's good. Um, but anyway, we've got some interesting topics here today. There was some breaking news right before we got here. Mike Waltz, the Trump's national security advisor of the infamous Signal Chat group, is out. He is being pushed out as national security advisor. So we'll get to that. The United States Supreme Court heard a really interesting case that about religious charter schools in Oklahoma, which I had one opinion last night, and I've kind of read a lot about it. And
Have you changed your mind?
I'm kind of in the middle of it.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a really interesting, fascinating legal argument. So we'll get to that. And then we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but it kind of blew up after the show about Trump and the MS-13 tattoo. There was a big dispute about that. I think initially people had thought that the the MS, the letters MS and the number was, it is photoshopped. That's been confirmed. But I think the president's ABC interview, he seemed to indicate that he believed that was actually a real photo. So some talk about that and other stuff. Who knows? I don't even know if we have anything local today. Do we? Anything local happen? Nothing in Jackson since Chokeway's gone. I mean, it's not gone.
Well, maybe somebody has something local to tell us. Somebody's calling. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi, this is Jay. Is this Wyab?
What?
Is this who?
This is Jay. Is this WYAB?
Yep.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just making sure. Hanson and I are near Flora. We'd like to know if you still need help.
Maybe you need to call the business. This is the own airline.
But what do you think about Trump's MS-13 tattoo? Why we got you now? How about that? Well, I guess he didn't have an opinion about MS-13 tattoos.
Yeah, I guess not.
All right, it's like
sorry, caller. I think you need to call the business line.
Yeah, I think that was
the own airline.
He didn't want to give his opinion. Usually people call and want to give their opinions, but I guess he didn't.
Sorry, Shay.
Yeah, anyway, y'all. So, if you haven't seen it, there's an ABC interview between Trump and I forget the correspondent's name. Trump didn't even know it. He said, I never heard of you, which I've never heard of.
Turk. At first, I thought he said Turk or something along those lines because I was thinking it was the Young Turks guy.
No. It was an ABC News correspondent. And
he said, I gave you this opportunity.
He's like, frankly, I never heard of you. And I was like, yeah, Donald, I'd never heard of this guy either. So he wasn't accurate. Anyway, he had that in the Oval Office in a long interview about various topics. One came up about the Ibarra Garcia case that's kind of taken, national headlines the last few weeks. And not to really get into the validity of that case. I don't care if the guy's deported. I think it's the wrong hill to die on. But there's been some dispute about a photo of his knuckles where he has tattoos. And I think some of them are like a marijuana leaf, a cross, a skull, and something else that may indicate gang membership. Probably is. I mean, I'm sure he probably is in a gang. It seems like, I don't know why else you get those tattoos on your fingers.
Tattoos are just trashy, I tell you.
Yeah, I know. But then someone had photoshopped MS-13 over those tattoos.
And Trump thought it was legit.
Yeah, he thought it was real because he showed the photo, him holding, I think, in the Oval Office or something like that, like a few weeks ago. But I think they did it to say this, the marijuana leaf means M, the cross, means, or the whatever is an S. I can't remember what
salvation, maybe the cross for S for salvation,
something like that. I can't remember what all the tattoos were, but so they were just kind of pointing out that this means MS-13.
So it did mean MS-13. So is he a member of the gang?
So I'm saying that's not agreed upon what it means. But they're saying that it could mean that. So,
but even if it doesn't, like regardless of that fact, this is a bad dude, right? He beat his wife.
He's a bad dude. I mean,
deport him.
He's not the hill.
Away.
It's not the hill you want to die on, in my opinion. But neither here nor there. The president had argued with their ABC correspondent that the MS-13 that was photoshopped in was actually real, and I don't think he realized. And at first, I thought maybe it was just confusion. Then then I went through it, and it looked like, the transcript of it, and it looked like he really believed that was real.
And you know what? He was very convincing when he said it. I thought the interviewer did not do a great job of that, because
No.
he seemed like he was unprepared and didn't know what he was talking about, which made Trump seem like, in his confident, arrogant manner that he has, that he was correct. And so it came off sounding like Trump knew exactly what he was talking about.
Yeah, I think the
Fake it
interview
till
was
you make it,
was
right?
terrible. Like, he could have said, so Trump at one point asked him, like, "Hey, look, let's pull out the photo." If I was, I'm just looking at my lawyer brain. I'm like, okay, let's pull out the photo.
I know.
mean, you
Why
look
did
at
they
it-
not do that? They should have done that.
Yeah, when you look at it, it's clearly photoshopped, and everybody's confirmed that it is a photoshopped photo. There's no dispute as to that. No one's hanging, on that one. So I would have just pulled it out and be like, "Hey, man, look, see, like, this is where the dispute is," and maybe that would have clarified the issue, what was going on. I don't know, but because it was clearly was not. The letters and numbers were not on his knuckles or tattoos. But anyway, but again, it begs a bigger question, and I've told you this before. I feel like the Democrats get caught up in stupid stuff.
I was just about to ask
Yeah.
you, Shaun, why are the Democrats so dead set on saving
It's-
this guy?
they get-
what is the deal here?
Well, I was thinking about this a lot yesterday, and it's like they make things that are hill to die on that are really dumb.
like,
And
trans surgeries for people who are in jail, incarcerated?
yeah, stuff like that. And this is a good example. This Ibarra Garcia thing is a very good example of that. Now, look, there's some legitimate points about due process that I agree with. But what I'm saying from a political strategy point, I would not make this my hill to die on, because the guy is obviously a bad dude. He's beating his wife. He's here illegally, whatever.
I mean, even if he was accidentally deported,
Yeah, like, I don't
like,
care.
do you really want him back?
And
I mean, I don't.
I think most of the American public doesn't really care. And I mean, I would make my hill to die on empty shelves in a few weeks, the economy, just where Trump's numbers are in the toilet right now. I would hit that constantly. It's all you hear me talk about if I was running the Democratic campaign
Well,
strategy.
they're not very smart,
but they're
Shaun.
not good at that. What they're doing is talking about this dude that nobody really cares about.
To be
Or the
so
average American.
educated
Yeah.
the way they say Democrats are, they are not very smart.
No, I mean, to me, this mix up with the tattoo is just kind of funny. It's kind of a funny thing that he, it's kind of like a Joe Biden moment for Trump a little bit. And I mean, Joe Biden had done it. People would have been jumping him, rightfully so. And, but other than that, like, the whole, like, deporting the dude, I'm just kind of like, whatever. I think the public kind of feels like that. It's not something that they're concerned with. Now, they're concerned with the tariffs, the economy, those things that Trump's numbers are down with. If you're the Democrats, you need to talk about that. But instead, they're wasting their time again on this kind of issue that nobody really cares about. And I
Yeah.
just think that's stupid.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. So we agree on something.
Yeah, no, I just
Wow,
think it's dumb. I mean,
shocking.
I'm just, I'm not in a, like, if this guy was like an American citizen, then yes, I would be up in arms about it. But he's not, and he obviously is a domestic violence. I think he was convicted of that, or something like
And that's
that.
the whole purpose of trying to get rid of these people here illegally, because so many of them have brought crime and drugs into the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not something that the one thing the public likes that Trump's doing is, like, border control. That's like his one positive, and gender identity, actually, your issue.
Education, yeah.
There's two things that he's in the plus categories for. The rest, like, why don't you hit the things on? Why don't you hit the other ones? Like, the ones that are the easy pickings, like, talk about the economy, talk about empty shelves, talk
Or
about
if you're
that.
a Democrat, talk about signal. Talk about
they did that. They tried, and actually, we'll get to that later. But that actually seemed to have now finally worked. Now, but it also worked, and it didn't work. See, the Democrats, for some reason, have got just this, like, I'm not going to use the word because that's wrong, but they just have this mission to get rid of Pete Hegseth, right? For some reason.
Yeah, they've never liked him,
and they're
from
just
day one.
And so even today, I was watching before we got here, like, they interviewed a Democratic congressman. They're like, well, I mean, Mike Waltz was okay, dude. I mean, you really need to get rid of Hegseth. I'm like, look, you already got a scalp. Like, what do you now? But you just really want Hegseth. He's not going to get rid of Hegseth. Just let it go. And the public doesn't really care either.
He promised not to drink while he's in office.
Yeah, right. He did. He's not doing body shots or
In the
table
back room
dances
with some legislators.
Yeah, he's not doing any of that.
No capital body shots for him.
No, I mean, so you're not going to win that. Trump likes Hegseth. He's going to keep them, and they're going to fight you on that. I think it's not.
Trump also liked Matt Gaetz.
Yeah, but he wasn't actually ever confirmed. I think they were willing to. I think Matt Gaetz was willing to let that go, considering all the stuff that was going to come out about him and his issues in air quotes. But
air quotes in the studio. Mike Madison says.
Yeah, so I mean, that's another here. I'm glad we brought that up. Like, so that's another hill to die on that the Democrats do is let's go after Hegseth. Nobody cares. Like, you've got to pick issues that the public cares about, and I've always said that the public cares about
getting rid of the transgenders.
No, Lindsey, not that issue.
Yes,
I mean, they care about paying their mortgage. They care about what grocery prices cost. They care about do they have job opportunities? They care if their kids are safe. These are issues that people care about. They don't care about Pete Hegseth or Abrego Garcia. So if you're like sitting there focusing on that, you're not going to win. I don't care how bad Trump's numbers get. If you look at the other numbers, which is interesting, they still trust him more than the Democrats. It's because of stupid stuff like this.
We got a good comment here. This person said Republicans literally pick one case all the time to turn political. The Democrats just can't capitalize on the right ones.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Who said that?
That's a dang good point.
Who said that? Joe Cook?
Joe Cook. He's right. He's right. They cannot. They are just so. This generation of Democrats is so politically inept. Like you hear, like you'll see James Carville on all these YouTube things constantly yelling at them. Like go back, do what James is telling you. Because he knows
James is off his rocker a little bit.
He's kind of crazy. He's like 85. I mean, he's not crazy, but like he knew how to win against Republicans back when it was not easy. At the post-Reagan era. And I mean, James is telling you things like he says, "Hey guys, how about felons voting while in prison is a bad idea?" Yes, it is. It's like nobody's going to be for that. So they're just not able to focus on anything. Right now is a perfect time if you had a focused Democratic Party to hit Trump because of his numbers and the state of the economy and the tariffs and all that stuff. But what are they doing? They're talking about Abrego Garcia. I mean, it's the dumbest political strategy I've ever heard of.
And fighting about putting schools with religious backgrounds into play.
That's a different issue. I don't want to get into that, but I mean, it's interesting from just being a lawyer looking at and being, I do love constitutional law. And it's both arguments are very good is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
both arguments are really good. And it's hard to decide on that. And we'll get to that, y'all. I know we're talking about the Supreme Court case out of Oklahoma that's talking about religious charter schools, but it's very fascinating. It's one of the few cases where I'm like, God, I could agree with both of them. Like I really agree with both of them. They're both not wrong.
I'm telling y'all, I'm winning them over.
They're not, well, I mean, you think about it's not that I'm not against, I'm for religion. I'm for constitutional rights. I'm for religious freedom. I'm pro Second Amendment. I mean, I think, like those are important things, but I'm also for all of the Constitution. Like there is an establishment clause too. So what's the line? I think that's an interesting, what is the line here? In this case, like when you're not discriminating against religion, but you're also not creating a religion, I
think you and I disagree on the purpose of, or the phrase everyone likes to use, separation of church and state a little bit.
Sure. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess in what context do you mean?
Well, because I don't think that that's exactly what it says or what it means, but I know you do. But
I mean, that's what the case law clearly said that. I mean, that's why it's in
they got it wrong.
I mean, it's in the Constitution. Actually, it's before the Free Exercise Clause, establishment, shall not establish religion. That was what the founders were very cognizant of that because of England does not have a separation of church and state, and they wanted that. That's why actually, the first things in the Constitution are religion, freedom of speech, all that stuff.
But our country was founded on religious principles.
There's a lot of yes and no. There's a lot of dispute on that.
Yes.
I mean, yes, I think in general, religious principles, yes, like you're talking about, like do unto others you want to do those kinds of things. But as a specific religion, that's
I'm talking about the Bible, the Bible.
No, I disagree. I mean, I showed you the Treaty of Tripoli signed by John Adams, where it said that the United States is in no sense found under the Christian religion. I mean, that was written by signed by one of the founding fathers, who was the second president of the United States at the time. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of dispute about that.
Well, I've got the Globe paper here from August 1837, which says that the volume, Roger Sherman read, the volume which he consulted more than any other was the Bible. It was his custom at the commencement of every session of Congress to purchase a copy of the scriptures, to pursue it daily, and to present it to his children on return. I'm trying to see who he was talking about here. Roger Sherman.
Okay, I don't know who that is. And I'm not saying, Mark, it's not that there were founding fathers that were religious and Christians. There were many of them that were deists too, which they believed in a higher power, but they just didn't subscribe to any specific religion. So there was the religion of the founders is very interesting, what their thought process was at that time.
He was a lawyer and a former United States senator.
Okay. So it's a rabbit hole you can go down, and people don't like to, because they like to immediately think, oh God, we're just found on the Christian religion. It's more complicated than that. It's a lot more complicated than that.
Well, we're going to get into the Oklahoma Supreme Court case when we come back. We're going to take a break, but y'all stay with us. We've got a caller calling in who's got some great insight on this, and I think you're going to want to hear it. So stay with us. We'll be right back here, WIB 103.9. Insight on this, and I think you're going to want to hear it. So stay with us. We'll be right back here, WIB 103.9.
1039
Yeah, I was
WYAB.
going back there now.
Did you know that the average six-room house collects 40
I
pounds of
hear it
dust
on the
each year?
thing.
Local business Pure Air
That's
Consultants
weird.
duct cleaning service
Can't
can
we
rid
hear
your
it through
home
the
of the
monitor?
dust, dirt, and debris that may be caught in your air ducts. They can eliminate the mold, fungi, and microbes that might be
That's freaking
growing
weird.
inside your ductwork and polluting the air you breathe in your home.
Really?
Mention WYAB and receive
got
a
it.
free UV
Oh,
light
monitor.
with system replacement. Visit online at
Mhm.
mypureairconsultants.com. mypureairconsultants.com.
I'm Shaun Yurtkaran, and I've spent nearly 20 years in the courtroom, first as a prosecutor in Hinds County, now fighting for my clients as a defense attorney. I know how the system works, and I know how to protect your rights. If you're facing criminal charges, don't wait. Call me at 601-862-1320 or visit me at onetextlaw.com. That's onetextlaw.com. Serious cases need serious defense. And remember, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. Let's get to work.
Americans for Prosperity is Mississippi's and the country's leading grassroots organization dedicated to promoting economic freedom and personal liberty. Americans for Prosperity advocates for limited government, free market policies, and empowering individuals. When given freedom and opportunity, Americans are capable of extraordinary things. If you are ready to make a difference in our community and want to get involved, then visit americansforprosperity.org. Be a part of positive change at americansforprosperity.org. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
859-8596. Small town music, come on, hit a lick. 859-8596. Call before you're home. That's the trick.
Hey, this is Frazier. We are only open Friday and Saturday or by appointment, but still alive and kicking. Call, text, or email for more info. Thanks for your support, and please call before you haul.
601-598-596. Small town music, come on and hit it. 859-8596. Call before you haul. That's the truth. Shop our used inventory in the convenience of your own home online at www.smalltownmusic.com.
Did you know that the average six-room house collects 40 pounds of dust each year? Local business Pure Air Consultants duct cleaning service can rid your home of the dust, dirt, and debris that may be caught in your air ducts. They can eliminate the mold, fungi, and microbes that might be growing inside your ductwork and polluting the air you breathe in your home. Mention WYAB and receive a free UV light with system replacement. Visit online at mypureairconsultants.com. mypureairconsultants.com.
Pops Auto Sales on Highway 49 in Florence is where you come to buy quality cars, trucks, and SUVs. Priced to fit your budget. At Pops Auto, we specialize in trucks. From four-wheel drives to diesels, our satisfied repeat buyers know Pops has one of the largest truck inventories for any independent dealer, period. Browse Pops inventory at popsautosales.llc.com and get pre-approved for a zero-down payment with approved credit, with warranties and service contracts available. Pops Auto Sales, your home for trucks. Highway 49 South in Florence.
Hi, Kim Wade here. Are you craving a home-cooked meal without the hassle? Come over to McBee's Bar and Grill in Ridgeland for their Blue Plate lunch specials. Served up every weekday, at McBee's it's a different entree every day. Chicken spaghetti on Mondays, beef tip Tuesday, pork chop Wednesday, spaghetti Thursday, and catfish Fridays. And McBee's Blue Plate lunch comes with two classic southern sides and cornbread or a roll. McBee's specials are served every weekday from 11 to 2. McBee's, buzzing the res since 1982.
Come together.
Welcome back into Crossing the Aisle with Shaun and Lindsey. So, Shaun, we have a caller on the line.
Okay.
My friend Shelly Guardry, I may be saying that wrong. I'm sure I'm butchering that. But she is actually in Oklahoma. And so she is going to help us break down this Supreme Court case that we were talking about earlier. Let's see if I can get her.
Okay.
Shelly?
Yes.
Hey, so I just told our audience that you are actually in Oklahoma and you've kind of been on the front lines of this fight with the Supreme Court about the religious charter schools. So tell us a little bit about what's going on over there.
Well, it's getting a little spicy over here in Oklahoma. We've got some interesting perspectives of what our state constitution says and if it possibly violates what our federal constitution says. So that's what the Supreme Court case boils down to. Oklahoma is newer to charter schools. My family is a part of Tulsa Classical Academy, Oklahoma's first and only classical charter school. Charter schools are public schools that take all students, and we are already seeing amazing benefits from it. So I'm going to advocate for charter schools until I die.
Right.
But this charter school that's with the Supreme Court case, being a virtual school, again, offers something that an in-person school doesn't offer. So it's one more version of charter schools, version of public school that is going to offer more choices to parents, and that's why we're excited about it.
That's a big issue over here in Mississippi. We've been fighting for school choice over here. And I completely agree with you. I think more options are just better. Like, that's just the way that we've seen the free market work. And once you have more options, then that makes schools have to become better to be more competitive. And I know you guys have got an amazing superintendent of education over there in Oklahoma, Ryan Walters, who's incredible. What side of the aisle is he on this issue?
He is going to be for parental choice, and he's for free markets. Like you said, when schools have competition, they are forced to raise their standards. They're forced to consider their customers, right? And that has not been true in the past. So here they are. They're very upset that we're trying to disrupt the system, as they say. And Ryan's been on the forefront of that for several years now, saying it is the way it's been going is not working. We're 49th in the country in education. We shouldn't be there. We know free markets work, and we're going to put pressure on our schools, and that's what he's been doing.
I love that. So the argument that you've been getting, though, is that public dollars shouldn't fund religious public schools, correct? That's what the argument is about, basically.
It is. We hear from a lot of people who don't understand when we say public tax dollars. So public schools can get state money, federal money, and then local money. So no matter where your kid goes, the money follows them to that school. That's the per pupil dollars. And then there's ad valorem taxes. So your house taxes, those go to your local school district, and you have no say currently on where that goes. Charter schools do not get ad valorem tax dollars. So no, I'm not taking my neighbor's tax dollars to go send my kid to a charter school. Now, the money that charter school earned by enticing me as a customer to send my kid there, yes, they get those per pupil dollars.
Gotcha. So Shaun, my co-host here, he had an opinion about this last night, but I think he's kind of changed his mind a little bit. Shaun, where do you stand on this now?
Well, I think it's an interesting issue. There's a couple. First question, can I ask you is what? So the Republican governor and Republican AG are on opposite sides of this issue. Is that correct?
They sure are.
And can you explain first, well, why? Because that's interesting that two conservative Republicans in Oklahoma, conservative state, would be opposite on a religious kind of free exercise clause kind of issue. Can you explain that a little bit?
I can, and it goes back to look at their past, look at their history. Our Attorney General Drummond is not actually Republican. He used to be a Democrat. He donated to Joe Biden. His family donated to Joe Biden. He's been attacking different religious organizations, different religious rights for years now. And so don't let that Republican label fool you.
Okay. That's just one. And I guess the problem, I'm a lawyer, and I read constitutional law for the last 20 years.
He's a dork, Shelley. He's a real dork.
And the argument really interests me because I thought there was good arguments on both sides, and I don't generally. I mean, sometimes I think that, sometimes I don't. But from a constitutional perspective, when you're talking about the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause, and I thought Justice Kavanaugh made a pretty good argument yesterday, or one of his questions, talking about how, are you discriminating against a religious school based on money that they could receive in this process to pick charter schools? And I guess my point is, it doesn't seem like the state is establishing a religious school, which would violate the Establishment Clause. You understand what I mean?
Yes.
And so I think if they were establishing the charter school or the religious school, that would violate the Constitution.
But they're not. They're just giving parents another option.
Right. Yeah, they're not. So I don't know if it's an Establishment Clause problem like the AG thinks. I'm leaning now more to a free exercise issue.
Yeah, okay, a lot of good stuff you just said. And yes, I did listen to about an hour of the oral arguments, and there were some great questions, some hard pressing, and Alliance Defending Freedom and the other people there really did a great job answering those questions. But yes, this is not establishing a religion. People, even our faith leaders that signed a document here in Oklahoma against it, stated that we can't force kids to go to religious public school.
Right.
No, charter schools, you choose to go there. No child would ever be forced to go to a charter school. That's what makes it different. But you're right. When the Constitution says basically the states have to stay neutral, they cannot discriminate against religion. Okay, well, you're going to create an organization, create a public service, but then say you can't participate if you're religious.
Yeah, and
how would that make sense?
It's funny, and Lindsey, our show is crossing. I'm a liberal, and Lindsey's obviously conservative, and so when I first hear the issue, my first thought is, oh God, we're mixing religion with state. That's my first thought. But then diving into it, looking at it from a pure constitutional perspective, then I'm like, now I'm leaning towards y'all's position because of the free exercise clause and that there isn't an establishment of religion. Now, if the state was establishing religious schools, that absolutely I'm not for, but if this is a choice with money, then I think that seems like they're getting discriminated against based on religion. I mean, if you want to send your kids to that school, then I think you should have the option.
Yes, I love that. Let's agree on that for sure. Again, it's going to have the same state standards, right? They have to qualify for that. Same state testing they have to do. So there's no special accommodations. We just want to offer this for the parents. And bottom line, no one has to go there. Mm-hmm. If that school is attractive enough in the free market system and they get those parents, then they get that money. And we've seen in Oklahoma, charter schools are way behind the curve. We need legislation to help bolster them, I guess is the word.
We need that desperately here too. We need that desperately.
My charter school, we're in our second year, and after 1 year, the test scores came out, and we were super interested to see, is this working? Sure enough, we were second in the state of test scores.
And operating on much less of a budget as well, right?
We're the second lowest funded. So a normal public school gets $12,000, we get $4,600. That sounds insane to people. Like, wait, how can you run a public school on $4,600 per student? It's like, it's only per pupil. We don't get ad valorem, and we're already proving that we can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a huge talking point for other states and to look at, that we don't need to pour all this money per student into children for them to be successful. We just need to find the right way that kids can learn and have those options for them and let parents choose the way their kid learns the best. And that's how we're going to see kids succeed.
Absolutely.
Well, Shelly, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Shelly.
I really appreciate you calling in. You've really kind of laid out the foundation of this and made it much more understandable, I think, for our listeners. So I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Shelly.
No, thank you guys for taking care of that. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Right, bye-bye. So Shelly is a part of Moms for Liberty and is on the national staff with me. And I just really admire the work she's doing over there in Oklahoma, because they're seeing results, and they do have a great superintendent who's behind the parents and really pushes for parental rights and choice. So great job, Oklahoma. And I hope that we will see the Supreme Court rule in the correct way. We should get that ruling sometime in June, I believe. But we are up against our next commercial break. Y'all stay with us. We will be right back and talk about the first casualty of Trump's administration. Stay with us. We will be right back and talk about the first casualty of Trump's administration. Stay with us.
1039 WYAB.
Pure Air Consultants has always been your go-to for reliable and affordable heating and cooling systems, and now we are offering day and night brand to avoid the 25 to 30% increases that everyone is talking about. With day and night, Pure Air Consultants professionals can install a reliable system with a 10-year system warranty, and right now receive $20 off on service diagnostic fees. Call us today, 601-939-7420, mypureairconsultants.com.
At Johnny's Pizza House, we consider our customers like family, so we spend the extra time needed to put more love into making our pizza. From our dough made fresh daily to fresh, never frozen ingredients, Johnny's Pizza House takes pride in knowing that what we serve our customers isn't just pizza. It's a slice of home in every single bite. Great traditions start with great food and great people. Start your tradition today with Johnny's Pizza House. Let's share a slice.
When life throws challenges your way, you need a legal team you can trust, and Bain Bowen Attorneys at Law will fight for you. The Bain Bowen team brings over 60 years of combined experience to the table, from criminal law and DUI defense to wills and estate planning, real estate closings, divorce and family law, and even government relations. Bain Bowen is committed to serve you with excellence every time. Let the Bain Bowen team give you the relief you need from stressful, complex legal issues. Visit Bain Bowen Attorneys at Law at bainbowen.com.
Are you looking to get stronger, fitter, and push your limits? CrossFit Fondren is where Jackson trains. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned athlete, our expert coaches and supportive community will help you crush your goals. Join us for high-intensity workouts that build strength, endurance, and confidence. No gimmicks, just real results. Try your first class today for free. Visit us at CrossFitFondren.com or stop by the gym, 3002 North Mill Street in Jackson, in the heart of Fondren.
CBS News Brief. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and his deputy Alex Wong are leaving the White House, according to sources. CBS's Margaret Brennan.
My understanding is that it is actually going to some policy divides and some frustration on a personal level with Waltz and Wong.
CBS's Olivia Rinaldi.
Susie Wiles, who's Trump's chief of staff, is briefing members of the National Security Council about this today.
The president at an earlier event made no mention of it, but he did touch on one key aspect of the budget negotiations.
One of the things that's very important will be saving Medicaid for Americans in need. We will not let the Democrats destroy it and all the waste, fraud, and abuse that they seem to love.
But House Republicans are facing the challenge of slashing $1.5 trillion. The administration's ending the duty-free exemption on low-value items from China beginning today and will start collecting tariffs on every single shipment. CBS News Brief, I'm Cammie McCormick.
We all love the farm-to-table food concept, right? Well, at Burnt Corn Farm, they bring you locally grown flowers straight from the farm to the vase. With a wide selection of flowers and excellent service, Burnt Corn Farm will make your next party or shower a southern delight. Sign up for a monthly bouquet subscription, and their farm-fresh flowers will brighten your days all season long. You can also book your next family photo session in their wildflower field. That's Burnt Corn Farm on Facebook and Instagram.
Hi, this is Lee Atkins for Home Care Plus Medical in Ridgeland, announcing our Mother and Father's Day sale beginning April 2nd. All Pride lift chairs will be $300 to $500 off suggested retail pricing as our Atlanta Braves fan special. So come in, mention you're looking for the Braves special, and we will help you select the best lift chair for you or your loved one. That's right, the Pride lift chair, $300 to $500 off MSRP. Many other items are on special pricing right now as well. So come see us at Home Care Plus Medical in Ridgeland.
Acme Pizza and Daiquiris at Fannin Mart on the Res is quickly becoming Rankin County's go-to spot for pizza, burgers, pasta, appetizers, daiquiris, and more. Try their famous Wheel of Flavor pizza. You can add up to 3 different pies, such as the margarita, Sergeant Pepperoni, Acme Beet Buster, Pig, Pesto Chicken, the Old Mexico, the Supreme, or hey, just build your own custom pizza. 9 different frozen daiquiris to choose from. Open daily at 4 p.m. Acme Pizza and Daiquiris.
Americans for Prosperity is Mississippi's and the country's leading grassroots organization dedicated to promoting economic freedom and personal liberty. Americans for Prosperity advocates for limited government, free market policies, and empowering individuals. When given freedom and opportunity, Americans are capable of extraordinary things. If you are ready to make a difference in our community and want to get involved, then visit AmericansForProsperity.org. Be a part of positive change at AmericansForProsperity.org. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
Come together.
Welcome back into Crossing the Aisle with Shaun and Lindsey. So, Shaun, you kind of are conflicted on this issue.
Yeah, well, I'm leaning with the free exercise for the proponents of the school, actually, the St. Isidore School. And everybody just tuning in, we're talking about the case of St. Isidore Catholic School in Oklahoma. That is the first publicly funded religious charter school in the United States. And, the reasons, it's a complex issue because when I first saw it, I said, okay, well, is that an establishment of religion by a state, which of course the Constitution forbids that. But then there's the counter argument is that it's a free exercise issue, which does this discriminate against religions by not allowing them to access those dollars for their own school, their charter school.
Mhm.
And I'm leaning on that because I mean the U.S. Supreme Court, Lindsey, had a case called Espinoza versus Montana Department of Revenue back in 2020, and they ruled that states cannot exclude religious schools from publicly funded programs just because they're religious. So they've
there's a
already
precedent
there's a
set.
precedent for that, and because that's just that would violate the free exercise clause. And I think that if that holds, and I kind of tend to agree with that, it should they should rule in the favor of the schools here. I mean, it says, Oklahoma is just an extension of that logic. Like if a private religious school can get a voucher, why not a charter school? I mean, that's
Right.
really what they. So I think that I align with that. To make this clear for I guess people listening, the establishment where I would have a problem is if the state said we are establishing religious schools, and you have to go to that one of those schools, like if it's in your neighborhood or whatever. It's
So
just
like
whatever.
if they made all public schools religious
Yeah,
and
that's
you know,
obviously
that was your only choice.
Yeah, that's obviously unconstitutional. You couldn't say, okay, you student have to go to this religious school in your neighborhood. And we've established the school as the state of Mississippi, as the state of Oklahoma. That would clearly violate the
But
establishment
you
clause.
open up a whole can of worms doing that because there's so many different religions.
Right,
It's a very
exactly.
slippery slope there.
Here, the the governor of Oklahoma is saying, look, fine, we can have a Muslim school. Maybe they can compete for the dollars. You want to send your kids there, Jewish school, whatever. And I think that to me fits under this Espinoza test, where I've changed my opinion completely overnight, reading through all the arguments and stuff. And yeah, I'm
Last
leaning.
night he was ready to fight me on it.
Yeah, I was ready to fight because I mean, well, the first thing when you hear religious schools getting public dollars without reading into it, then you're thinking, okay, well, that's an establishment clause problem. Well, I mean, if you're a dork like me, then you're thinking that, but not nobody was like, I don't really care, most you're like, I don't like, let's change the channel. But but then when you dig into it and you look at it here in the prior precedent, it seems pretty clear that yes, this is not an establishment clause problem. Actually, the establishment argument is fairly weak here because the state's not doing anything. They're not making anything. They're just saying, look, these dollars can follow the child, and they
That's
know
how it should be.
Yeah. So, and for those reasons, I do agree with them. I think that is right. I would side with those with the school on this one for sure. I'm like, how I am. I'm for personal liberty on most things, I think. And, even I know where we disagree on abortion, obviously. And, you have your reasons and I have my reasons. My reasons just beyond that, I think it's, freedom of choice. And you think it's like,
Well, it's murder,
right?
because it is.
And we just disagree on that. So like, I mean, but I always lean on that. Like, you should be able to do what you want to do. So this is kind of in
Shouldn't
line.
have to inject aborted fetal cells and mercury and aluminum into your children if you don't want to.
Yeah, like I'm not for vaccine mandates. I'm pro-choice and not for vaccine mandates. There you go. Like I'm down the line. This is the way I am. Like you should be able to do what you want to do.
But,
As long, I mean, so
yeah, but one of those is dealing with your own body, and one of those is dealing with another human being's body.
right, but depends on your interpretation of that, right? And that's where we differ. But the so like so that's where I'm with these folks. I do lean on the I do lean with the religious school because I think that they're getting discriminated against if they're not allowed to access this. The state is not saying you have to go to a religious school, or the state of Oklahoma is building a religious school. Like that would be another problem I'd have a problem with. Like we're building a Baptist school in Tulsa. Like, no, they can't do that. Clearly cannot do that. But here, this is a charter school that was built by private dollars, I assume. And then they're just, getting public funds per student, not being funded necessarily by the government. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, I was surprised, Shaun. There were, I think, 150 religious leaders within or around Tulsa that signed this petition, because they don't want this. And
they don't.
Yeah, I was really shocked about that.
Why don't they want it?
I guess they think that it's, violating the Constitution. I disagree, obviously. And I think the more choices that we have for parents and children, the better. And I don't understand how anybody can really argue with that.
So the religious leaders were against
150 of them signed a petition.
Wow, that's interesting to me.
Yeah. But obviously, like Shelley said, obviously Moms for Liberty supports school options and parental rights, and so does the Oklahoma governor and Ron Walters, the superintendent of education over in Oklahoma, who's done a fantastic job over there.
Yeah. So I mean, well, we'll see. I listened to some of the arguments last night, read them for a while. It seems like the Supreme Court is is leaning that way. The problem is Amy Coney Barrett recused herself from this case.
I wonder why.
Well, she's a devout Catholic for one thing. I don't know if
But
that has
this is a
something.
Catholic school. Does she feel like maybe
She's conflicted? I think so, but she's a well-known devout Catholic, and
I hate that because she's one of our more conservative ones.
she's actually one of the ones with the most sense up there. You'd be surprised the way she rolls sometimes. You're like, okay, like I'm not saying she's a liberal, she's not, but she's a very balanced, common sense person.
She rolled on something against Trump.
Yeah,
What was that?
I can't remember. I know what you're talking about.
I remember seeing that, and I thought it was maybe it was about the judges taking away the judges' power.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't remember, but yeah, and she always is. She's a very balanced jurist in my mind, even though she's conservative, obviously. But yeah,
You're more conservative than you let on, Shaun. We all know it.
Yeah,
We
right.
all know it.
Yeah.
You're eventually gonna be a registered Republican.
Yeah,
we can all see it coming.
Not a chance in heck. So she's recused herself. So what you're gonna have is now 8 justices. So there could be a 4-4 split because they're saying Chief Justice Robert was silent during that. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. Sometimes the justice.
If it's split like that and someone's recused himself, who makes the tie-breaking vote?
There is no tie breaking. It goes back to the Oklahoma Supreme Court, which ruled against it. So that's the problem that your friends have, is that now if Chief Justice Robert leans with the liberal faction, then it's going to be a 4-4 tie and goes back to what the ruling of the Oklahoma Supreme Court was. So, which is what they're kind of predicting that the outcome, but again, they don't know because they're saying the reason for the prediction to me is he didn't ask any questions. Well, a lot of times you don't know how they feel on something if they're not asking any questions. They're just not asking any questions. He's also a devout Catholic, as far as I know, and so is Alito, and I think Kavanaugh probably too. Yeah. So
you think they're all Catholic?
I think Kavanaugh. I know Kavanaugh and Alito, and I believe Roberts is too.
I wonder if they were fans of the Pope.
I'm sure they were, Lindsey.
I doubt it.
I'm sure they were.
They're ready to get rid of him, I bet.
I don't know about that. I think that's just you.
That's just me. Okay.
Yeah, right. This Pope hate. The man died. We let it go. I mean, the man died.
I have my opinions on that horrible
I
man.
think he was wonderful, but
of course you do.
God bless him, and he's
or
no
either
longer...
Satan, because I don't know that he went to heaven.
Okay. Anyway, God bless the Pope. But it's so like I'm not Catholic, but he seems like a very nice man.
You just liked him because he leaned liberal.
He was a very liberal dude.
It's ridiculous.
So now what we're talking about is Mike Waltz is gone.
Shaun, how much of the decision do you think about this came down to the signal chat? Do you think that's behind this? Because it took so long for them. If that's what it is, why did it take so long to do this, to get rid of him?
I think what happened was just in watching Waltz's interviews. So to back her up, this has to do with the signal chat thing that got leaked, where they added the editor Jeffrey Goldberg of the Atlantic. Yeah, to the signal chat, which was added. Mike Waltz added him to the chat.
SNL did a really funny skit about this. It was hilarious.
Which so the editor of the Atlantic, which is more liberal publication, is added.
Yeah, don't read them.
And has been very negative about Trump. They're the one. Goldberg's the one who wrote the stories about suckers and losers about the soldiers years ago, and so Mike Waltz inadvertently adds him to this signal chat about strikes on Yemen.
So it was Mike, not Pete.
Mike did. Okay. Pete was just talking crap. And the best thing about the signal chat, they had fire emojis and stuff. I'm like, are you guys high school kids? Like this is like an
emoji.
Department of Defense military operation. You guys are using fire emojis and boom. I'm like, this is.
I bet Renee would have understood.
Yeah, I'm like, what the heck is our government? Anyway, so Jeffrey Goldberg got included in the chat, and I think, Lindsey, what happened was, so Mike Waltz says, I don't know how he got in the chat. Well, the dude was obviously in your phone, and and Waltz also tried to run cover, he didn't know Goldberg. He didn't know. What I think happened is that Goldberg, Waltz was leaking stuff for years to Goldberg. I think, because why else is he in his phone? Why is he in his phone?
Okay. So you think there was a security breach already?
And I think Trump kind of figured that out and was like, yeah.
Of anybody, this has got to be somebody he can trust. This is the person who's with him the most. And at every function, when they have other leaders from across the world, and lives the closest to him, and, is really advising him. So this really needs to be a position of someone who's really trustworthy.
Oh, absolutely. And I saw those interviews with Waltz where he's like, I just don't know how he got in there. He sounded like a defendant on the stand that was guilty as hell. He just, he did it like, okay, why is the guy a
Shaun
safe?
lawyers, everybody.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, why is the editor of the Atlantic saved contact in your phone? Well, there's a reason, because you've been leaking stuff to him before, because Mike was a congressman before they took office in January. And I mean, you were obviously leaking stuff to this guy. You knew him, you've given him information before, and you just you mistakenly add him this chat. And everybody's like, oh, well, I don't know how he got. And remember, Waltz said, I'm enlisting Elon's people to find out. I mean, come on, give me a break. Like, to find out how you added the Atlantic guy to your contact list, because
I wonder how Elon would figure that out.
No, he's full of it. He was talking to him. He was leaking stuff to him before, probably when he was a congressman. He was just, I mean, look, we all know politics. You and I know a lot of politicians. They all talk to the media. They all have, how many of them talk to us? Right?
Yeah.
They all talk to the media. They want their message out there. They want whatever it is. So they all talking to these guys. So he talked to Goldberg in the past. He just didn't want Trump to know about it. And Trump figured it out and was like, yep, see ya. That's what I think happened, if you guys give me.
Yeah, because I mean, it almost seemed like they had gotten past the signal issue and things were going good. And then all of a sudden this morning, I got the notification, that he's being outed from the White House. So there must be more to the story.
Not like that, like outed, but outed.
Like put out.
Yeah, not your usual war outed, but yeah, this kind of.
Shaun, you lost electricity at your house the other day.
I did. Why?
Was it hot?
Yeah. Well, I went back to the office. Why?
Well, I mean, because you need Pure Air consultants to make sure that there's always air,
you do.
right?
That's true. That's
So
true.
if your power has not gone out and your AC is not working and you're wondering why, some common reasons for this issue includes issues like a flip switch, a dirty condenser, an improperly sized unit, an old unit, or a malfunctioning thermostat. Well, for over 40 years, Pure Air Consultants has been delivering exceptional cooling systems to Central Mississippi, and they want to offer you a rare gift, a free labor warranty for 5 years, new construction build, thermostat installation, and more. Financing is available. We all know we need that in this economy, by the way. Pure Air Consultants also specializes in air duct cleaning, air duct sealing, and dry vent cleaning to make sure the air you breathe is as clean and fresh as possible, which we obviously want. And we also want it to be cool in these Mississippi humid summers. So
Yes, I like clean air.
yeah, you don't like the dirty air?
That sucks. Everybody wants that.
So y'all call Pure Air Consultants for all your AC needs. And stay with us. We will be right back here on WIB 103.9 to wrap up the show for today. We'll be right back. Back here on WIB 103.9 to wrap up the show for today. We'll be right back.
1039 WYAB.
When life throws challenges your way, you need a legal team you can trust, and Bain Bowen attorneys at law will fight for you. The Bain Bowen team brings over 60 years of combined experience to the table, from criminal law and DUI defense to wills and estate planning, real estate closings, divorce and family law, and even government relations. Bain Bowen is committed to serve you with excellence every time. Let the Bain Bowen team give you the relief you need from stressful, complex legal issues. Visit Bain Bowen attorneys at law at bainbowen.com.
Hey guys, this is Casey Ellis with Ellis Autoplex, located on Highway 471 in Brandon. Ellis Autoplex, known as Little Truck City, is your old school mom and pop style dealership that's family owned and operated. We specialize in 4-wheel drive trucks, but don't worry, we have cars and SUVs too. Looking to sell your vehicle? Bring it by Ellis Autoplex, where we pay fair market value and we cut you a check on the spot. Need your vehicle service or repaired? We can handle that too. Shop us online or set your appointment at ellisautoplex.com. That's ellisautoplex.com.
Why should you choose Ceramic Air Conditioning and Heating for all service or installation? Well, they purchase all parts directly from the manufacturer. All of their factory-trained technicians have been hand-selected for skill, work ethic, and experience. There are never any hidden fees or charges. Ceramic Air Conditioning and Heating is dedicated to your complete satisfaction, and they're family-owned and operated. For residential and commercial service or installation, contact Ceramic Air Conditioning and Heating, 601-317-0729, or make an appointment through their Facebook page.
Hello, I'm Gary Jolly from the Tractor Store. LS Tractor understands your passion for the land, and just like you, LS Tractor is committed to excellence and superior products. LS Tractor comes with a long list of standard features that are unmatched by other brands, and backed with the LS commitment to provide exceptional customer service and satisfaction. You get a lot more for your money with the LS Tractor. Come to the Tractor Store in Richland to experience the LS difference. The Tractor Store in Richland.
Hi, Kim Wade here. Cork and Door Company has been providing quality residential garage and commercial overhead door products to Mississippians for over 50 years. Cork and Door is a supplier of garage door parts and services such as LiftMaster, commercial and residential door operators, as well as Clopay, sectional commercial and residential doors, Asta, commercial sheet and rolling steel doors, and Cornell, rolling steel and shutters, with many in stock for the same day pickup. Corkanddoor.com. That's corkanddoor.com.
Men, if you answer yes to any of these questions, you could be suffering from low testosterone. Do you have low sex drive? ED, always tired, depressed, loss of muscle mass, obese, loss of focus and drive? You, my friends, need to get your numbers checked. Check out Men's Health of Mississippi, located in Madison, Mississippi, and online at menshealthms.com. Guys, get your numbers checked today. Trust me, she'll thank you for it. I promise. menshealthms.com. Men's Health of Mississippi.
Looking to elevate your ride? Weston Automotive and Rick's Pro Truck have you covered. From rugged bumpers to sleek step bars, Weston's top-notch accessories will transform your truck into a head-turner. And at Rick's Pro Truck, we specialize in custom installations that bring your vision to life. Visit us today for expert advice and unbeatable deals. Weston Automotive and Rick's Pro Truck, where your truck's potential comes alive. Weston and RPT. Trucks live here.
B-Dubs cocktails, pretzel knots, and mozzarella sticks. It's all on me today. Oh, so you're happy hour rich when the happy hour menu is only $3 to $6 from 3 to 6 p.m. $3 to $6? That's crazy. You know we're at happy hour right now from 3 to 6 p.m. It's happy hour crazy. We were here yesterday too. Crazy. Quit playing. I'm gonna let you pay though. Food, beer, and cocktails for $3 to $6 from 3 to 6 p.m. Buffalo Wild Wings for the greatest of all times. Monday through Friday only. Beer deals available all day at participating locations. Taxes and fees apply. Dine in only. Drink responsibly. Offers vary by location. Void where prohibited.
Come together.
Welcome back here to Crossing the Aisle. We have just a minute, Shaun. What have you got for us?
Well, we will not be here tomorrow. We got Andrew Gasser stepping in for us. We're going to be in Boston hanging out at the Red Sox game. So
We are. I'm super excited. I'm a baseball fan. My dad umpired Little League baseball my whole life. I grew up at the baseball field, and I love baseball.
Yep. So we'll be there, and then Lindsey's going to get a tour of American history, and
he's going to try to
ask me a lot of questions. I can guarantee you there'll be
We're going to get a Boston cream pie, and we are not staying in a haunted hotel.
Yep. So,
we had that changed because Shaun kind of try to slide that in there.
We're staying at the Paul Revere Hotel. Actually, that's what it is.
It looks really cool. There's a lot of books there. I can probably burn.
Yep.
Saw a big library. I'm kidding. I don't do that. Everyone knows I don't do that.
Right.
But yeah, we will be back here Monday, 12 to 1, every day, Monday through Friday, WIB 103.9. So y'all don't miss it. Right here, Monday through Friday, Shaun and Lindsey. We'll see you Monday.
See you Monday.